as I mentioned in the previous video, it now seems that Nate Vasquez is actually the former trainer of Chris Eubank Jr. I kept calling him Nate Diaz in the last video. Nate Diaz is the MMA guy. And funny enough, I was watching a Boxing Social interview with Shane McGuigan, and he also was calling Nate Vasquez Nate Diaz. So it's not just me, apparently. But anyway, Nate Diaz did an interview with Sky Sports recently where he is reacting to this news that Chris Eubank Jr. is now training with Virgil Hunter. He says that to go from trainer to trainer is not good. And I agree with that. If you're doing it on a frequent basis, I think it's not good. And he also says something here which I don't agree with. He says that Eubank is, where does he say it here? I've lost it. Yeah, here we go. Chris is a pressure fighter. And if you change him into a boxer, it won't go well for him. Well, I disagree with that, actually. Chris Eubank Jr. really isn't a pressure fighter. Chris Eubank Jr. is actually at his most comfortable on the back foot with an aggressive opponent coming at him. That's what comes most naturally to him. When a guy like Avni Yildirim is walking him down, Chris Eubank Jr. feels extremely comfortable in that situation. He's able to slip and slide, use his little shoulder roll, reel off uppercuts and hooks against the guy coming in with squared up shoulders. That is how Chris Eubank Jr. prefers to fight if he has the option. When he's forced to come out of his comfort zone and actually walk forward and try and track people down, that's where he has the most problems. We saw that against Billy Joe Saunders. We saw that against George Groves. He's not naturally a pressure fighter. He's naturally a guy who likes pressure fighters coming at him so he can counterpunch and, reel off combinations while he's on the back foot moving around. So for Nate Diaz to say he's a pressure fighter and to try and turn him into a boxer is a mistake, I disagree with that. I disagree. I think that Chris Eubank Jr., where I do agree is where Nate Diaz says that Chris had his best win of his career. So Nate Diaz. Let me call him Diaz again. Nate Vasquez. Where Nate Vasquez says that he had his best win, Chris Eubank Jr., with Vasquez in his corner. 100% true. So maybe he feels a little put out that Eubank Jr. is going in a different direction. And I can understand that because I'm sure he was paid a decent amount because your trainer takes a certain amount from a fighter's purse, and I'm sure he was paid a decent amount for that fight. And I'm sure he was happy with his success, and he doesn't really understand why Eubank Jr. has decided to go in a different direction and hire somebody else. So I can fully understand his frustration there. And he hasn't closed the door on working with Chris Eubank Jr. again in the future. But the whole thing about Eubank Jr.'s style, he does need to improve his footwork. And this is something that Vasquez talks about. He does need to improve his footwork on the front foot. And he also needs to improve his long range boxing game, because where Eubank Jr. struggles is when he has to track down an opponent, particularly a skilled opponent. He struggles at that. And also boxing in the middle of the ring against a skilled long range boxer, he struggles with that even more. That is the area in terms of boxing in the middle of the ring. That's the area where I kind of agree with Vasquez to an extent that it's maybe a lost cause trying to get Eubank Jr. to be able to box, slick from long range against a slick fighter, against the guy who's good at long range themselves. That right there might be a waste of time. Okay. I don't think he's ever going to be as proficient at long range as a George Groves or Billy Joe Saunders. He's never going to be that. But you certainly don't want to neglect his back foot game, because he's got a very good back foot game against pressure fighters. But his own pressure fighting skills are poor. His footwork is poor. His head movement is poor. He can't seem to get his feet underneath him and get the correct balance and the correct foot movement going forward. He's not good at cutting off the ring, etc. So he needs a hell of a lot of work in terms of his front foot game. And somebody like an Abel Sanchez might have been able to help him with his front foot game in terms of cutting the ring off and stuff like that. Because Chris Eubank Jr.'s got several dimensions to his game. So I'm not just talking about, I'm definitely disagreeing with Vasquez with his assertion that Eubank Jr. is just a pressure fighter. I'm certainly disagreeing with that. I'm saying that he's a multifaceted fighter. His back foot game is very good, actually, when he's got a pressure fighter coming at him. Not when he's dealing with a long-range boxer, no. But when he's got a pressure fighter coming at him, his back foot game is very good. But his own pressure fighting game needs to be massively improved. And Abel Sanchez could improve that. A Virgil Hunter, I think he can improve it as well, but in a different kind of way, because Virgil Hunter, if you look at his fighters, particularly Andre Ward being his most notable student, Andre Ward was a good inside fighter, but he was messy with it. And Andre Ward was very tactical. Andre Ward was never just a pure pressure fighter. Andre Ward was a guy who, when he knows you want to box at long range, he's coming to fight you on the inside. And when he knows when you want to fight him on the inside, he's going to box you at long range and move around and mess you around. That was Andre Ward's thing. Whatever you want to do, he'll do the opposite most of the time. Now, occasionally, he'll do what you want to do because he believes he's better at it than you are. So much better at it than you are that, he's happy to fight you at your own game. But a lot of the time, it's about doing the opposite of what the opponent wants to do to frustrate them and eventually break them down. So with Virgil Hunter, I can see Eubank Jr. basically being kind of an Andre Ward clone, because Virgil Hunter's going to look at him and say, okay, he's the same kind of height as Andre Ward. He's physically strong. He's got good inside fighting ability already. And inside fighting ability is different than pressure fighting ability. Don't get the two things confused. Pressure fighting is the ability to cut the ring off, apply pressure, protect yourself at the same time, stay on balance, and be able to close the distance and strike with clean, accurate, well-delivered punches as soon as your opponent gives you an opportunity, or as soon as you create an opportunity for yourself. Yeah. Inside fighting is once you're on the inside, once the distance is closed, what are you doing at that moment? That's inside fighting. Whereas pressure fighting is the art of getting inside. And that's where Eubank Jr. is lacking in terms of the art of getting inside. Virgil Hunter can help him with that, but he won't turn him into an out-and-out pressure fighter. And maybe there might be fights where that's what's needed from Chris Eubank Jr. He needs to be an out-and-out pressure fighter. That's the reason that I'm curious to see how this situation with Virgil Hunter pans out, whether it's going to be for the best or not. But I do suspect that I was probably correct about why he's going to Virgil Hunter, because in this interview with Nate Vasquez, he also talks about how Senior was not supposed to be in the corner, but he ended up being in the corner, and he was trying to give Eubank Jr. instructions during the fight. And according to Nate Vasquez, Eubank Jr. turned to his dad and said, be quiet. I'm listening to Nate talk, So maybe this is a way of Eubank Jr. trying to do it his own way, because maybe his dad has been an overbearing figure to a certain extent, potentially, not just now, but maybe throughout his life. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, because, some parents feel like their children need that kind of strict discipline. They need that kind of, not intrusive, but, they need somebody watching over them all the time, because that's the kind of child they are. All right. So I'm not saying it's a negative thing in a general sense, but specifically for boxing, because Eubank Jr. is quite a stubborn individual. And, he said it himself. I think his brothers said it, that Chris Jr. is very, very stubborn. Because he's stubborn, he may just be one of them people where he likes to figure things out for himself. He's too hard-headed to take advice, so he likes to figure it out for himself, and he likes to prove to his dad and everybody else who's been trying to give him advice that he can do it himself. Do you understand what I'm saying? A situation like that. And I think that probably is what's going on with regards to Virgil Hunter. So we'll see how it works out. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.